one-size-fits-all legal disclaimer for the beginning of every episode that I upload. The views and the opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the hosts and guests and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of any agency, organization, employer, or company that they are affiliated with. Examples of analysis performed within this podcast are only anecdotal examples. They should not be utilized in any real-world analytics as they are based on anecdotal information. That is all. So, hi, this is Robert Cross, and this is Cross Theory, the podcast where we look at this book, the Dictionary of Theories. And is it backwards? Is that going on right now? Is it
No,
backwards?
looks fine to me.
Does it? Okay. Looks like it says Dictionary of Theories, but backwards to me. Anyway, and I'm here with a very special guest, Mr. Lewis Woolston, is how it's pronounced, right? Or-
Woolston. Yeah.
Woolston. Good. All right. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Lewis Woolston, writer, bullshit artist, um, man about town. I don't know. Author of a couple of books, and yeah, happy to be here.
Nice. And I'm Robert James Cross. I have an MFA in fiction, an MA in, or an MED, sorry, in education. And I'm getting my doctorate in education right now. But none of that means anything because the theory that we're going to be looking at today, I haven't even looked at it, is, hold on, almost there. Uh, the theory of absolute retention rate, which is in chemistry. So I don't know anything about chemistry. Do you, Lewis?
Not really, no.
Good. All right. So this will be fun. So the theory says it's a theory of reaction rates based on statistical thermodynamics. So as a reactant molecule changes towards a product molecule, there is an increase in potential energy until a maximum is reached. At this maximum, the molecules have a critical configuration known as the transition state or activated complex. Only molecules with adequate total energy can attain this critical state. What does that make you think about when you hear that?
Um, there's some sort of chemical process going
Yeah, yeah,
underway,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and you're turning one thing into another by
Yeah, it's
means
like
of a
it's kind of like
chemical.
yeah, it's kind of like alchemy a little bit. Sounds like.
To do that, there needs to be a certain amount of energy or
Yeah,
something.
of course. Yeah.
Otherwise, it doesn't change.
Yeah, that's right.
Uh, that seems fairly reasonable, sensible.
Doesn't seem like a theory, right? But I mean, there's obviously somebody had to come up with that, which is what the dictionary theories, it's a theory until it becomes a law, obviously. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, I've never dealt with chemistry in my life other than like the narcotic kind, I guess, and things like that, and alcohol,
Yeah.
when
That's actually where my brain went as well.
yeah, so
So,
yeah. That's where it should go, right? But yeah, no, yeah, it's an interesting theory, and like I said, alchemy is interesting. I don't. Do you have any thoughts on alchemy as a whole and a process?
uh, it's like the word alchemy always reminds me of like some obscure Iron Maiden
Yeah.
B-side or song or something. I don't know. Power metal songs about wizards or
That's
some
right.
shit. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. Turning
I,
lead into
I, I think
gold,
yeah. As far as I know, it's a medieval thing and
Yeah.
pretty much debunked as far as I know. But
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, again, like you said, right? It's all energy based. So I'm assuming that at some point in maybe not our species, humanity's history, uh, maybe it might happen where we'll attain that, I guess, level of energy in order to turn something molecularly into a different element or something. I mean, we've gotten close with certain things, right? But I don't think we've gotten to the alchemy that um, I forget the famous alchemist. There was, I mean, obviously Isaac Newton was one of those guys that he wanted to, turn lead into
Yeah.
gold and shit like that. But yeah, it's a very medieval thing. And have you ever, speaking of medieval, I mean, we're going to talk about writing and everything. Do you have a favorite like medieval literature piece or something like that? You like any Chaucer, things like that?
Um, I in high school I was one of I don't know if it counts as medieval. Shakespeare's not medieval, really, is it?
No, that's
No,
like Old
it's a bit
English. I
further
would call
along.
it. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah. To be honest, it's not a thing I know a lot about. I'm a big history nerd, so I have read up on all the kings and dynasties and wars and stuff.
Yeah,
But like what was going on in science and society at the time, I'm not so
kind of iffy on. Yeah,
well
yeah,
up
yeah,
on.
yeah, yeah. No,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I read Chaucer, and uh, Beowulf and shit like that. I mean, Beowulf wasn't really that was like old English, right? That was like original English. Um, yeah, I guess Shakespeare wasn't old English. He was more like Middle English or something. I don't know. I mean, so you're Australian, right? You're in Australia. Um, I have no,
Yeah.
yeah, I have no kind of context of what the literature scene is in Australia or even historically, because I don't think I've even studied any Australian writers in my many, many, many years in college. Can you just like briefly go over what you know about Australian literature before you, of course, like you're obviously like a figure in Australian literature now, but
I
what
flatter myself.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But what is like the history of like Australian literature?
It basically starts sort of two main figures, Banjo Patterson and Henry Lawson,
Okay.
around the sort of late 1890s, early 1900s. Everything starts with those two, more or less. There
Hmm.
was a few things before that, but those are the two big ones.
Yeah.
Um, uh, Banjo Patterson mainly wrote poems and some essays. Henry Lawson wrote poems and short stories. They were the sort of thing that were basically universally taught for the last 100 years at least. Like,
Got it.
I learned them in school.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can probably still recite the Man from Snowy River off by heart. Um, it's a very famous poem,
Oh, is it?
and from there, it was slow to start. There was a big sort of boom in the 1920s, 30s, and even a little bit in the 40s of Australian literature, and a lot of those really the writers then were actually women and often with quite radical views.
Uh-huh.
People like Kylie Tennant, Susanna Pritchard, Eve Langley, people like that. And then it started to develop more sort of through the 50s and 60s. And there was some good stuff. In the last 20 years, it's all gone to crap. The woke thing, and
Yeah. Yeah.
everything has to be diversity and
Mhm.
current issue and all that. But there's people doing good stuff. Yeah, but yeah, that's a short version. Yeah.
So speaking of I guess the woke shit and everything, um now when you were telling me all these authors and things, I don't think I heard anybody or like maybe I'm wrong. Were there any Aboriginal authors in that like history?
Um, Not really. It was they had their stories and their culture, of
Yeah,
course,
yeah,
but
yeah,
to get it into book form
yeah,
requires a certain level of education and things
yeah.
that just they didn't have for a long time.
Got it.
And then yeah, and sort of that started to be change, and then well, the problem now is that in the last 20 years, you've got a whole bunch of white women from Melbourne pretending to be Aboriginal.
Yeah, that's
And
right. Yeah. That's right.
so
Yeah,
you've got
yeah,
that shit
yeah,
going on. But
yeah.
there has been some good Aboriginal writers. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Because I know about the just from like, I mean, again, I don't know my ass from a hole in the ground in Australia, but um, like the song lines or whatever that they talk about and things like
Bruce
that. Like,
Chatwin.
yeah,
Yeah.
I know about all that stuff. Like, I've not studied it, but I've heard of it and read a
Mm.
little bit about it. But yeah, that stuff's always interested me. All that stuff. Their idea of like the end of the world or the beginning of the world and everything like that. I don't know. I think um, like native cultures have some of the most imaginative fantasy shit sometimes, even more so than some white Anglo people do. And I feel like stealing some of that. um I don't know if that would I mean, I guess that would count as what is that? What is that?
Appropriation
Yeah,
or
appropriation. Yeah, appropriating it.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
You get a hard time for doing that.
Yeah, and I wonder if that happens. I wonder if people in Australia, do you know of any authors that do like that have done that where they've appropriated some of the Aboriginal stuff?
Oh, there's a classic novel, and it got made into a movie called
Okay.
The Fringe Dwellers.
Mm,
It was by a woman, what was her name? Nini Gower or something? I
yeah.
can't remember her name, but she was a white woman. She was a school teacher,
Yeah.
and she observed what was going on. And this was back when the White Australia rules were happening, so Aboriginals were segregated.
Okay.
And she wrote a story from the perspective of a young Aboriginal girl who was
Mm,
struggling and trying to get something better in life.
interesting.
And it became a classic. It got made into a movie.
Uh-huh.
And now people are sort of like, well, she shouldn't have done that. That's cultural
Oh, wow.
appropriation, blah, blah, blah. But,
Okay.
it's a good book.
Yeah,
It's a
no,
really good
I'm sure it's fine. Yeah, but I mean, like I halfway get it because like I could never I feel like if as being a writer as I am, I feel like I could never write like, oh, I'm a black person, or whatever, do like a, an African American or
yeah.
whatever, write about that. Um it wouldn't make any sense, I feel like, because whatever. But back then when the Aboriginal people didn't have, I guess, that voice, it
Mm.
might, I guess it makes a little bit of sense, right? That's something that would have occurred. Now, your writing goes in a completely different direction than all of that. And I know because, like I said, I read a little bit of the Last Freeman, just a little bit of it, not the entire thing. And I haven't read any of your new stuff yet. But I know you have a newer book out. That was that last year that it came out, or a couple
Last year, yeah.
last year. What was that one called? The Everlasting.
The Everlasting and Other
Yeah, that's
Stories,
right.
yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And what was that one about?
Largely about growing up in a cult
Oh,
and
okay.
sort of escaping that and various other things like that. Yeah.
Interesting. It's funny is that I want to say that you're maybe the fifth person I've talked to in my life who's had to escape a cult. So I'm assuming it's a very, because that's it's kind of autobiographical, right? Is that
Loosely, yeah, yeah,
loosely?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. So what can you go into some of the autobiographical part of the cult thing, or is
Yeah,
that
yeah,
give
I
too
guess
much?
so,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Let me know what's going on with that.
Yeah, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Well, basically, I grew up in the Jehovah's Witness cult,
Oh, okay.
um, and it was fucking awful.
Yeah.
And escaped it, ended up sort of tried to sort of make something of my life straight away and
Yeah.
get into music and things, and ended
Nice.
up falling on my face, becoming an addict for a while,
Yeah.
and yeah, so it was sort of like the cult to addict to Narcotics Anonymous pipeline.
Yeah.
It's
So
quite a
what
well-established pipeline
yeah, what was your drug of choice when you were an addict?
of brief heroin addiction.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
yeah, but
Wow.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Got it.
yeah.
All right. I didn't know is it a prevalent thing in Australia?
It was in the 90s. Yes, it
Got it.
was.
Okay.
Yeah, because we're close to Southeast Asia and on trade
Yeah.
routes.
No, makes sense. The dragon and all that shit. Yeah. No, Yeah, no, that's crazy. That heroin's actually the only thing I've never done. Like I haven't done any opiates at all because my both of my parents, I don't know if you've watched any of my podcasts. So both of my parents died of AIDS and
Yeah.
they were both heroin addicts. And watching them die, I just kind of was like, that's definitely not something I'm going to do. But I'll do everything else. I did meth, I did crack, I did cocaine. I mean, I did all that shit. Obviously, I don't do that now, but like, but yeah, anytime I'm at like a doctor or something like that, and they're like, "Oh, your back hurts? Take an opiate," or something. I'm like, I'm good. I always say I'll just take an Advil or something. I think I'll be fine. Um, but yeah, so you got addicted to heroin for a little. How long was a little while for you? Like a couple
Oh,
years?
probably less than a year all
Oh,
up,
really?
but yeah,
Wow. Okay.
yeah, yeah. It
Okay.
was. I wasn't very successful.
You were a very
You
successful
know,
heroin addict. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was literally like moved out of my parents' house. Within 2.5, 3 years, I was completely fucked
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
going into recovery.
Yeah.
Like it was. I didn't set the world on fire.
Yeah, well, we know a successful heroin addict is probably one that ODs, right? That's really. I was a successful heroin addict, and now I no longer, live. But yeah, and then now you say you're in Narcotics Anonymous now. You do that?
I was, yes,
Oh, you
for a
were?
number of
Okay,
years. Yeah,
got it,
yeah,
got it. Yeah,
yeah.
when I got clean from everything that I got clean from, I kind of went cold turkey. I didn't go to any programs or anything, but I have a lot of friends that are in NA and AA and things like that.
Hmm.
I was always able to just get rid of it without any kind of, and it's interesting to me when you say that, you stopped the Jehovah's Witness thing, and then you found heroin, and then you found NA after that because NA is kind of, I mean, wouldn't some
It's a little
people?
bit culty,
It's a
yeah,
little cultish too, right? Okay, they've got. I know. When you said that, I was thinking of like, well, I mean, and you could kind of like meta what say that drug addiction's kind of a cult too, right? Like
yeah,
being a drug
yeah.
addict, is part of that. Because instead of getting high on God, you're getting high on an opiate, right? Like it's all.
Yeah. And honestly, it is a very well established pipeline that I met quite a few people in NA who had also grown up Jehovah's
Oh,
Witnesses and
really?
whatnot.
Okay, got it,
Yeah, yeah, and
got it.
various other types of fundamentalist Christian. It's a pretty well established pipeline.
That's interesting. Yeah, yeah, that's super interesting. No, the only Jehovah's Witness like history I have, I guess, in noticing it or knowing it, would be that Michael Jackson was a Jehovah's Witness. I knew that.
Raised one,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. I knew that. And then also like when they'd come to the door and shit, when I was a kid or whatever, and hi, we're Jehovah's, and we'd be like, yeah, go away. And then it was the Mormons after them. It would literally be like the Jehovah's Witness would come, and then 10 minutes later, the Mormons were knocking. It was kind of like you talk about pipeline. There was like a pipeline of fundamental Christian groups coming down my street in L.A. But yeah, have you ever been to America?
No, no, I've never been
No,
overseas. No,
I've never been to Australia. Have you been out of Australia at all ever?
no,
Oh,
no,
really?
no.
Not at all. Okay. So have you been to other parts of Australia than where you live now?
Yes, yes, I've
Okay,
wandered
good.
all over. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Have you? Okay. Did you ever do you? So I know that you have looking at your book covers. I was looking at them that you have some stuff about the Outback. Have you spent a lot of time there?
Yeah, so that first book came from I spent about 5 years living and working at roadhouses out in the Nullarbor, and so this is going to require a little bit of
Of course,
explanation.
yeah, please, yeah. I'm when I hear Roadhouse, I think Patrick Swayze. So tell me all, tell me all about, tell me all about
That's actually a
Roadhouse.
great movie.
Yeah, no, it's a killer movie. Sam Elliott, yeah, it's killer.
Yeah. So the Nullarbor was this huge area,
Mhm.
just completely flat,
Yeah.
desolate. There's no trees. The name Nullarbor is from the Latin nullus arbor, no trees.
Okay. Cool. Yeah.
Um, so it's just sort of knee-high scrub, and it just goes on and on and on. It's probably I'm just trying to think of it's probably about the size of Utah and a bit, so Utah
Oh
and a
wow.
half.
Okay.
Like
Got it. That's
it's
big. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, and it goes over. And there's no towns, there's no
Hmm.
nothing. There's just this one highway and the
Wow.
one railway line, And along the highway, sort of about every 100 kilometers or so, there's a roadhouse, and the staff live in, because there's no town, they live in
Yeah.
little cabins out the back.
Okay.
And you sort of get housed and fed by the boss. It's only a minimum wage job, but
Yeah. Yeah.
you don't have any living expenses, so you can save your money.
Yeah.
And it becomes a bit of a lifestyle. And I ended up spending about 5 years out there,
Okay.
and honestly loved it. Had a
Did you?
ball,
Okay.
and that was the first book. Yeah,
Did
yeah.
so when you're out there, how do you get supplies and stuff? Just like do people come through on the highway?
Comes in on a truck.
Oh,
Yeah,
got it.
once
Okay,
a week.
got it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
comes in
yeah.
on a truck.
That's crazy, man. Yeah, I could never. I mean, I'm a city boy. I was born in L.A., lived in Hollywood. Now I live in San Diego in California, and so it's like I could like think like just me driving. So if you drive maybe I don't know an hour and a half east from where I live, there's like kind of there's still freeways and there's still gas stations and things, but it's just all flat land, kind of like what you're talking about with no trees. And I just my mind just goes like I'm like I could never live here. Like it freaks me out too much. I need to be close to like a Walmart or a hospital. Those are the two that if I'm not close to either of those things, I start flipping out, man. It's bad.
Well,
But
well,
yeah.
I always judged remoteness by distance to the nearest McDonald's,
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, same thing. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
because when you see that sign, you
Yeah.
know it's civilization, isn't it?
Civilization. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So when I was at the Majura Roadhouse on Nullarbor, I
Yeah.
was 730 kilometers to the nearest
Oh,
McDonald's.
jeez, that's far, man. Yeah, yeah, that's
Yeah.
far. Now, yeah, one of the so I took a geography class in college, and it was only U.S. geography, so I didn't know about any other place. But um, my professor gave us like this extra credit assignment. She was like, if you could find the best place to live in the United States, you get like a bunch of points added to your grade. So a bunch of people, because I live in San Diego and I was going to school in San Diego, they did a presentation about San Diego. They're like, San Diego is the best place to live in the United States. He, whatever. But I did Durango, Colorado, which is on the edge of Colorado. If you know the states a little bit, there's Colorado's the little square one, and it's got the least amount of rain, the least amount of snow. There's no natural disasters, and it's got the most like sun. It still gets cold, but not like too cold. But like you said, it's like 50 miles away from the nearest, Walmart, McDonald's, any of those. There's no like McDonald's in Durango, Colorado. So it's a good place to live because I looked through all these almanacs throughout all the years, and I found like I did it myself. This is before Chat GPT and all this shit. I'm sure if you typed in Chat GPT, what's the nicest place, it'll say like Durango or some other fucking place. But back then I had to like sit there with the almanac and like count things and do the math and everything, which I'm not good at math at all. So I mean like Durango might not be the greatest place to live, but as far as I know it is. But no, I've never been to Australia. The only the only place I've been outside of the United States was Egypt. I went to Egypt in 2018. I went there to kill myself actually, but I ended up not doing it. So, which is a good
That's cool.
thing, obviously. Yeah, 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 which is a good thing because here we are talking. But have you ever had a place like that where not that you want to go kill yourself at, but have you ever a place that you want to get out of Australia and see?
Um, Probably some of the Pacific Islands, like the really remote ones.
Okay.
Yeah, the idea of well, I'd want to know if there's one that's not people, and if they'd just let me live there for like a month, like
Yeah,
set
yeah,
up a little camp
yeah,
or something,
yeah,
and just be like thousands of k's from the nearest shipping lane or something. I
yeah,
think that'd be
yeah.
amazing.
So you're
Um,
so I'm seeing this trend now talking to you about remoteness. Like you love
yeah,
being away from everything. Do you
yeah,
are
not
you
a
are
big,
you are you married perhaps?
yes.
Yeah, okay. I get it now. No, I understand. No, yeah. No, no, that's cool, man. No, I've never really been outside of the country other than Egypt. And I've never really been to anywhere too remote. But I can imagine there's some sort of do you it I from what I read of your writing and everything, there's like a sense of freedom there a little bit,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah,
Can you
definitely.
speak a bit about like the freedom of not of what it felt like to live in those to like work in those roadhouses and live out there?
It's it becomes like society just becomes irrelevant. Like
Mhm.
with sort of there's sort of half a dozen to a dozen people that live and work at this roadhouse. You've got all the people traveling through, and like what goes on with the government and the
Yeah,
world.
doesn't matter. Yeah, yeah,
What is
yeah.
this?
Who
Like
gives a shit? Yeah, yeah.
yeah, and so you sort of do your shift and that. And I used to go walking out onto the plain, like
Mhm.
way behind the roadhouse and things, and you'd see animals. Some of them quite dangerous.
Oh, of course. Yeah, it's Australia. What do you
Yeah,
expect?
yeah.
Huh?
Oh, on the Nullarbor, they have these spiders, like, and you can actually hear them scuttle
Oh, fuck
across
that.
the.
Yeah, fuck that.
Yeah, they
I have
kill birds.
arachnophobia, man. I couldn't do
Yeah,
it.
no, no. And there's snakes, and
Yeah.
out there they have dingoes and
Yeah.
camels and
Yeah,
things
yeah.
like that. And there's parts and you think once you get beyond view of the roadhouse,
Mhm.
there's no evidence of human existence at
Yeah.
all. It's just
Yeah, yeah.
scrubbed forever.
Mhm.
And you could almost convince yourself you're the only person in the world, and that is just
Yeah,
that
yeah.
really does something for me.
Yeah, that's
I
cool.
know it probably doesn't for everyone, but
No, no, no. Again, I would probably flip out. But I mean, I understand, like you describing it to me right now, it sounds cool. And I would probably be
yeah,
cool for me for about 5 minutes. And then after that, I'd be like, where the fuck is everybody? You know, I remember, it's funny you say that because I actually remember when I was in Cairo, in Egypt, when it was time for all of them to go to mosque, it was like about what time it is at your, in Australia, about 9ish, 10 o'clock. uh Everything is completely empty. I mean, the roads are empty. There's no cars, there's no restaurant. Like, it's literally just quiet at 10 o'clock in the morning. So it feels like you're walking through like a zombie village of, but it's like it's a 24 million population city in the middle of
sure.
Egypt, right? And there's like nobody around. You can't hear honking, anything. It's just complete silence. And it's because they're all in the mosque praying to Allah and all that shit. So that was interesting to me, and I didn't get freaked out obviously because I was like, I know that they're all going to be back, but I couldn't imagine being in like the outback with these scuttling spiders and snakes and shit, and then like, oh, I'm the only one here. Like, I really am the only one here. Like, fuck, man. I just, yeah, that kind of. And then of course, I guess I have to ask, when you were a child, did your parents take you camping on the outback and stuff like that ever?
Not really, once or twice, but
Oh,
we
really?
lived
Okay.
in a lot of small country towns, and I used to
Okay.
go wandering off in the bush by myself. And yeah, yeah, I
Nice.
guess, yeah.
And then did you what so where you live now?
Mhm.
I looked it up on Google. It seems a little, obviously it's smaller than like Perth and Sydney and those places. Which you've been to, right? You've been to
Yeah, yeah.
Melbourne, all those places. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Do you feel like the smaller the place that you live, the better you are at writing, or do you feel like the larger the place, the harder it is to write? Because I always feel when there's a lot of shit going on, it's harder for me to write. But when I'm like alone in the dark and I don't have to, deal with things, that I write a little
Mm.
bit better.
I um I think uh I think that what's really essential to write is you need some quiet.
Yeah.
People constantly at you is
Mhm.
is going to kill it, you
It's
know.
too much. Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah,
So I think in the city, unless you're willing to sort of lock yourself away in your little room
yeah,
and be very disciplined about
yeah,
that,
yeah, yeah.
then it's going to be that little bit harder.
It's tough. Yeah,
Yeah, and also because where I am now, I can drive for 10 minutes outside of town
yeah,
and find a beach with no one on it
yeah.
and
Nobody's
just look
there.
at a
Yeah, yeah,
big empty ocean.
yeah.
And it really, yeah, it's good rider fuel, especially winter here.
Oh,
Winter
really?
here
Yeah.
is real keto. It's like
Does it snow at all there, or is it just cold?
no, no,
Oh, okay,
no.
got it. All right.
But we're right sort of on the Southern Ocean,
Yeah,
Antarctica's not really that
Yeah,
far away,
yeah, yeah. It's
and
close, right? Yeah, yeah.
sometimes the rain comes in sideways off the Southern
Oh no
Ocean.
shit! Wow. Okay. Wow, that's crazy.
So
Yeah, yeah.
you know, you can be all dark and brooding, and
Yeah, that's right.
it can
Yeah,
it
yeah,
hit.
yeah. Look at put on a corncob pipe or something, right? And do the
Yeah,
whole. Yeah, I'm a lighthouse man.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But no, that's cool, man. That's cool. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, I was gonna start this episode actually by saying that it was my first international episode, which is true, it is. Like you're the first person outside of the United States that I've spoken to
Oh, very
on
cool.
this podcast. And also I was gonna say it's okay if you say the word cunt. Like I don't care if you say that either, because like, it's really bad in America to say that. Like if I can't say that at work, I can't be like, hey cunt, because then I'll get fired or whatever. But I know that it's like a term of endearment in Australia, right? Isn't it?
Depends on the context and
Yeah.
how you
Well,
use it.
I
But
mean,
yeah,
like,
yeah,
yeah, it's not no matter what context you use it in America, it's not. Yeah, you can't do it. But in Australia, right? You could say like "oi cunt," and everybody's like, "Hey, whatever," Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I get it. And then what about was I was gonna ask some stupid questions too because again I'm a stupid American. What do I know? But so I was my father, the one who died. Um, he was actually my stepdad. I don't know who my birth father is, but my stepfather, I call him my dad. He um he kind of raised me watching movies and shit. Like we watched a lot of TV and movies. My mom did too. But one of his favorite movies and actors and everything was Crocodile Dundee and Paul Hogan. He loved Paul Hogan, man, like all the time. Anything Paul Hogan was in, he was like, "Oh, we have to watch that." And we'd watch it and whatever. And we watched Crocodile Dundee like a billion times. So how old are you?
I'm 46.
Okay, so you're only 6 years older than me. So what kind of influence do you think Crocodile Dundee had on the relation between America and Australia? Do you think that that was like, do you think that that helped like relations, or do you think it made it worse because Crocodile Dundee is thought of as like kind of the, I guess, redneck of Australia or something? Like, what do you think happened there?
I have personally witnessed Americans coming off, at Sydney Airport,
Yeah,
wondering where the crocodiles are.
that's right. Yeah, 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 yeah. Or asking you if is this a knife, right? Or something. That's not a knife. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I don't know. I think it was a mostly a fairly positive thing. It was a bit cliched and
yeah.
Hollywood and all that, but that's okay. I mean, it could be worse. You could be like Scotland that got famous for train spotting.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Or Braveheart, right? Like the
Yeah.
whole, yeah.
I imagine the tourist board of Scotland must have loved when train spotting
Oh
came out. They
yeah,
must
yeah, yeah,
he'd
yeah,
be,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know.
Everyone there is a drug addict. Yeah, um, that's pretty funny. Yeah, no, because I remember whenever I mean, and then also like the way that 4chan, because you're familiar with 4chan. I know that you are because
Very,
that's yeah,
yes.
yeah, yeah. I know that the way that they treat Australians is like really bad, right? Okay. Like to the point where I used to, I'd live with roommates and stuff, and we'd all go on B or wherever, and we'd laugh at all the memes and shit. And one of the ones we'd always laugh at is the one with the fucking guy doing the jig or whatever with the, and it's like, and everybody just doesn't care, and he's got the Australian, the hat and all that stuff. Yeah. So, what is it really like though? Like, what are those people really like? The people that like Crocodile Dundee's based on, like, what are they like in Australia? Are they looked down upon, or are they thought of as like in an endearing way?
Uh, so most Australians live in the big cities and don't
Yeah.
travel out. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
it's sort of like thinking that America is John Wayne movies. Like
Yeah, that's
it's
right. Yeah, the whole time. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
right. But I've actually lived in up in the Northern Territory.
Okay.
It is a godforsaken shithole. This it is the asshole of Australia. It really
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
Uh, I mean, So the Northern Territory has severe fucking problems.
Yeah.
It's got a lot of indigenous poverty and
Yeah.
dysfunction and crime.
Mhm.
No one really wants to live there,
Yeah.
but the government pumps money into it. There's big defence force bases.
Okay.
There's mining. There's the sort of Aboriginal welfare and all that.
Yeah.
So people go and work up there and trying to make money, and then they go, "Fuck, this place is a hole," and move back. So there's this sort of churn
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
people.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then there's the locals, like the white locals in the
Yeah.
Northern Territory, and they are a special breed. Like,
Yeah.
I honestly, some of them had put like the worst Alabama rednecks for nothing to some of these
Oh, I can
guys.
imagine. Yeah, I can
Yeah.
imagine. Yeah.
But yeah, it's a rough place up there, and I if you want to visit and do the touristy things and get taken on a crocodile tour, sure, but you wouldn't want to live there. You wouldn't want to live there.
Yeah. No, no, because I was just thinking in my head, I was like, so Australia started out as a prison colony, right? Like for
Yeah.
Britain or whatever. Um, and where so you obviously you know the history, you're from there. Um, what area of the United Kingdom is the accent and most of the people that came down there? What area of the UK is that from?
Well, there's some slight variations in the
Y-
Australian accent, but the
Yeah,
broad general one, like my
yeah,
one,
like yours. Yeah,
yeah, is like so a lot of the convicts were from the big industrial cities, mainly London, but
yeah,
also Manchester, Liverpool,
got it.
Newcastle,
Yeah,
as well as loads of Irish because there was lots of trouble
yeah,
going on at the time. So really, the Australian accent is Cockney and Irish,
yeah,
London and Irish,
kind of
simmered together for
combined.
200 years.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. No, it's
that's
interesting.
all.
Yeah, it's super interesting to me because like and then to think that once it's a prison colony, but then now what Australia is, and then they have their own prisons, right? You have your own prisons in Australia. It's like kind of it's like this never-ending kind of fractal thing, right? Where you have people in prison in this original prison colony, but it's no longer a prison colony. And then New Zealand is a completely different monster too. You've ever been there or not?
No, no.
No, you've never been to New Zealand either, even though it's right next door to you. Um, yeah, no. So New Zealand, I had a little bit of history with. I've never been there, like I said, but just from like Lord of the Rings and shit like that, you know what I mean? But um, and also Sam Neill. I love Sam Neill. I'm a huge Jurassic Park is my favorite movie of all time, and anything Sam Neill's in. He had this movie from New Zealand called The Hunt for the Wilder People or something like that.
Wilder people, yeah,
Wilder
yeah,
People,
yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Have you seen that movie?
yeah, yeah. It's quite
Oh,
good. Yeah, yeah.
that's a great fucking movie. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so like yeah, that kind of stuff where it's like because they have a similar accent, right? The Kiwis, right? They call them. They have a
Yeah.
similar accent. And I'm wondering, like, is that from them going over into New Zealand, or is New Zealand a completely separate thing that got?
Separate thing,
Yeah.
and their accent is actually it to an Australian it really grates on the
Oh,
ear.
really? Does it? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So it's kind of
They
like a
pronounce their eyes as U's. So if you ever meet a New Zealander,
yeah, yeah,
you ask them to repeat the phrase $6 of fish and chips.
yeah.
All right, six
Okay,
dollars of
six
fish and chips.
dollars of fish and chips. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And
and the way they pronounce it.
you're gonna, yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, all right, I got it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, we have. I mean, we have similar, right? In America, we have accents all over the place.
Mm.
I don't think I have an accent, but I'm sure, like talking to you, you could hear something in my
Yeah, yeah.
my voice, right? Yeah, it's to me, it's weird because, like, obviously, you can't hear your accent either, right? Like, you think that yeah,
No.
yeah. So,
So
yeah.
you like Sam Neill?
Oh, I love
You
Samuel.
mentioned,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Have you ever seen or read Death in Brunswick?
No, no. Is he in
No.
that?
Yeah, it was based on a book, and it got made into a really cool little indie movie.
Okay.
It's really
Is
good.
that good? Death of Brunswick?
Yeah, Death in Brunswick. Check it out.
All right, I'll check that one out. Yeah. No, I've seen all his like big ones, like I said, Jurassic Park and Event Horizon, those all those the big movies he was in, and then obviously the Hunt for the Wilder People and stuff. That stuff was all cool. Um, so going back to writing, who were some of your biggest influences when it came to like your writing, and like I guess you looked up to as you were, you know, growing in school and things like that?
Um, growing up in school, I, to be honest, when I was a kid, I was a massive sci-fi nerd.
All right, okay,
Um,
all right.
I was the sort of kid that used to devour all the Star Trek novels and
Yeah,
the Doctor
yeah,
Who novels and
yeah,
all that
yeah,
stuff.
yeah. Cool.
Um, Huge fan of the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Nice.
I
Yeah,
think at
Douglas
one
Adams.
stage, I knew all the lore and could explain all the things of that when I was young. Um, was a big fan of the Adrian Mole books. I don't know if you ever read
Okay.
them when I was a
Yeah,
kid.
I've heard of him.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
And just as I got older, my taste sort of broadened. We did 1984 in high school, and I became obsessed with George Orwell. Like
yeah,
literally
yeah,
read everything I could find of his.
yeah, yeah,
Um, Still love him. I
yeah,
think he's great.
yeah,
Um, Went through a long phase of being interested in anything sort of countercultural, beat or punk or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
So I read Kerouac and
yeah,
Burroughs and all that,
yeah,
and
yeah,
read all that. As as I started writing, probably the big influence as I became a writer was Somerset Maugham.
okay.
His short stories were like, that's what I want to
That's what
do.
I
You
want to
know,
do.
like,
Yeah,
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 I thought they were fantastic. And a lot of those, I sort of immersed myself in the sort of canon of classic Australian literature.
yeah, yeah,
Well, people like Kylie Tennant
yeah,
and Susanna Pritchard
yeah,
really, I was like, yeah, I want to kind of be in this company. And
yeah,
yeah, so things like that.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's interesting to me. Yeah, yeah. So, did so so when it comes to short story writing, because that's mostly what you do, right? You haven't read,
Mm.
have you written like a huge novel yet or anything big? Like,
I attempted it, but it wasn't very good, so I should
yeah,
count it. Yes. So,
I've been there, man. I've been there. Um, but yeah, so so what do you find like a formula like with writing short stories, or do you just kind of like write until like you're tuckered out and you go, yeah, this is it. Like this is the short story. This is it.
I sort of have a couple key scenes, and I
Uh-huh.
sort of have it worked out roughly how they're going to tie together,
Hmm.
and it either works or it doesn't. Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't aim for a word count or anything.
yeah,
I have been trying to do longer, bit sort of more stretched out stuff, but still, basically, it just it when it works, and if it's how long it needs to be is how long it needs to be.
yeah,
I
yeah,
don't.
no, yeah. You don't try to push the issue. Yeah, that's
Mm,
I guess you
yeah.
don't want to. Yeah, you don't want to be too long. Yeah, my first book that I came out with a couple years ago called Shards.
Mm,
It's only 100 pages long. That's all, because I wrote 100 pages and I was like, that's good. That seems fair. And each page is like a vignette, so it's not like it all connects, but it's kind of like out of order. It's kind of like a Tarantino movie or something, I guess you would say. And so I always found that that was the easiest thing for me to write. I've written short stories before, gotten them published, this, that, and the other, whatever. But I could never like sit and actually think to myself, okay, I'm gonna write this like behemoth novel or something. Like I read Stephen King, I've read Tolkien, I've read all those people, and I think like, how the fuck did they do it? In my head, I'm like, how the fuck did they do it? But the older I get and the more I guess I write, I realize that I guess maybe some of it has to do with they just wrote a shit ton of short stories, combined
yeah,
all of
tie
them.
them
Yeah,
together.
tied them together and put the same characters in. I mean, I feel like that's really what most novels are that, and they kind of have an underlying thread that ties the beginning of the novel to the end of it with all these short stories crammed in the middle. Which is why sometimes you have authors like Tolkien or like a lot of fantasy sci-fi novelists who have characters that show up in the beginning of the story that aren't in the ending, and you're like, where did they go, or you have ones that are like overpowered, right? Like in Tolkien, it would be Tom Bombadil, right? Who could have easily just taken the ring, gone to Mount Doom, thrown it in there, and then the whole book would have been over by that point. You have him in the beginning of the book, and then he like disappears for like a long, like part of it, and then because Frodo and Sam and all them have to do their thing, whatever. But yeah, I don't know. Long form writing has always been scary to me, and I told you I have my MFA in fiction, and so I went to
Mm.
school to write, and a lot of the people that I was in school with, they ended up writing. I had this guy. I'm forgetting his name right now. I know his last Tom Grisham. That's his name. That's his name's Tom Grisham, which is like close to
John
like
Grisham.
yeah, John Grisham and Tom Clancy, like a combination of the two, right? But he didn't write anything like those two guys. He wrote kind of like David Foster Wallace. You ever read any of his stuff, like Infinite Jest?
No, no, but I know of
You know
him.
who he
Yeah,
is. Yeah.
yeah.
So he kind of wrote shit like that. He had this one Tom did in my MFA. We would workshop things, and he had this one story called The Trough, which was about these people that would go to this restaurant, and it was just like a trough, and everybody would just go down and eat like from the trough. I thought that was so interesting. I was like, wow, that's so imaginative, in my head. Um, but yeah, he would always his MFA manuscript was like 900 pages or some shit, and I was like, how the fuck did you do that? Because like I only worked on the weekends, and I barely did like 100 pages for my manuscript. I mean, I was like, Jesus, 900 pages, I could never do it. But yeah, and then what do you do for work now where you're at?
I drive a delivery van.
Oh, do
Yeah.
you really? Yeah, okay, cool. So it's like do you like to drive on the highways and stuff? And does that remind you of?
I just as most of it's around town, just delivering Timo shit to people
Oh,
and
you did
whatever.
Timo stuff. Okay, cool. Yeah.
It's not particularly interesting, but it's a job. Yeah.
Hey, I'm sure. Believe me, it'll be interesting to somebody. That's what I always say. You could probably write. You could. Have you written any short stories about that or anything about that?
No, but I have been thinking about it. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you
The
should. Yeah, you should. Because like
Diary of a Timo delivery man.
that's diary of a yeah. Make him a heroin addict. I think that would make it
Yeah.
interesting. He delivers Timu and then he goes home and shoots up or something. Um, but no, yeah, that's the so on the weekends I do security. I'm a security guard on the weekends, but Monday through Friday I teach high school, and I've been doing that I've been teaching for like half a decade, almost a little bit longer than that. And the books that I teach my students, I've taught them comic books like Watchmen, things like that. I've taught them.
Mhm.
What did I do? I did. Well, I have them right now. I have the Iliad and the Odyssey in the classroom, and we kind of look at that a little bit, especially with the Christopher Nolan movie that's coming out, the Odyssey one. Um, but yeah, it's hard to teach students reading in this day and age because nobody really reads anymore. Like that's kind of the truth of it all. My kid, he's 13 now, my stepson, and he loves Percy Jackson. You ever heard of those?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. He loves those Percy Jackson novels, and he devours them. Like we give him, and then he's like done with it in a couple days, and he's like, all right, next thing, which like I think is awesome, but at the same time, when I was his age, I was already reading like really advanced novels and things, and so I think like, wow, Percy Jackson isn't really that advanced, but I mean, at least he's reading, right? Because a lot of students won't do it anyway. Um, and then do you think there's any truth going back to that reading thing? Do you think there's any truth to the even though I'm saying nobody reads, the fact that people are online constantly, right? That 24/7 people are on the internet and they have to be reading some form of language and words, right? Do
Mhm.
you do you consider that reading at all?
I mean, technically, yeah, but I mean, there is a difference between that and reading a book.
Yeah,
I'm, I'm personally, I'm not sure the situation is quite as grim as a lot of people say.
yeah,
Um, just I recently, for the last couple of years, I had a second job that working at the local KFC,
yeah,
and I obviously had to work with teenagers,
yeah,
and
yeah.
quite a few of them did read a bit
Oh, did
here
they
and
read?
there.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, mostly just YA stuff, but
Yeah, yeah,
you know,
yeah, yeah.
I mean,
No,
I
why?
started with Star Trek
Yeah,
novels, so
yeah, yeah. I
what does
mean,
it
they
matter?
could,
Yeah,
yeah, they consider the Hobbit YA now.
yeah,
Yeah. So it's like, if that's YA, then I guess anything at that, anything that doesn't have any cursing could be considered YA. I feel like, a lot of those sci-fi novels that we read when we were younger, I mean, those could all be considered
yeah,
YA, really. I mean,
yeah.
um, but so you said you read a lot of the Star Trek novels too, right?
Yeah, when I was a kid, I was a massive sci-fi nerd. When I was a kid,
Yeah,
loved all the Star Trek novels and all the Doctor Who novels, and
yeah,
really, and then started the town library where I lived had a really good collection of all the classic stuff.
yeah,
Arthur C. Clarke,
yeah,
Isaac
yeah.
Asimov,
Uh-huh.
those guys. They were great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Asimov. Yeah, Asimov's awesome. You've read The Question, right? The Asimov short. Have you read that one?
Uh, Probably.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
can't
if you
remember it off
have,
the top of my head.
yeah, if you haven't, and anybody that's watching this or listening to this right now hasn't, you have to read The Question by Isaac Asimov because that is like it's basically what we're dealing with right now with AI. I feel like it's like and then again, let's go into that. What's your opinion on AI? Like, what's your opinion on that? Using that to get ideas or write, even? I mean, people writing with it. Like, what's your opinion on that?
To be honest, I'm kind of a Puritan. I think if you're using AI to write your novel or whatever, I think nah,
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
done.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah,
uh, as for the whole AI phenomenon, I kind of think it's going to turn out to be a big nothing. Remember that, like a couple of years ago, everyone was like, the metaverse. The metaverse is going to
yeah, oh,
be the
yeah.
big
And now
thing.
that went to shit. Yeah, 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 yeah. That went
What
to
was
shit.
that? What was that?
Yeah, it
Like
was a yeah
he
fart.
didn't Zuckerberg close his down
Yeah,
just
he just
recently?
did. Yeah, he just did.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
it was a waste of time. Fuck
yeah,
off.
yeah. It was a
I
fart in the
suspect,
wind. Yeah,
yeah, I suspect long term something's going to happen like that.
yeah,
As far as I can see, the main use of AI is for Indian students to cheat on
yeah.
exams. Like that
Sorry. Yeah,
seems to be what it's for.
yeah.
Oh, and to make like those weird little fucking clips
Yeah,
on
the
fucking
video clips.
TikTok or
Yeah, yeah,
whatever. Like
yeah,
it doesn't really
yeah,
advance humanity or anything,
yeah.
as far as I can tell.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have no kind of I guess skill in video editing really. So
Mm.
the app that I use to do the clips that I do for my podcast. So this podcast will have like little clips and stuff I'll put on TikTok and all those other places. Um I use an AI thing. I give the whole video to the AI, and then it shits
Mhm.
me out these clips that are like, I mean, I have to go in and edit it, right, obviously, and find like, because sometimes it'll cut off like when I say a certain thing or whatever. Like when I said the
Mhm.
word cunt, it would cut that out because it's like, oh, you shouldn't say the word cunt, and it's like I could say whatever the fuck I want. It's my podcast, you
Oh
know.
my God.
Yeah, I had F Gardner on the last
Mhm.
episode, and yeah, he said a lot of things that were pretty hardcore. But like the funny thing about him though is that when I finished recording his episode, I went back and I watched it, and all the times that he got super like deep, 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 like that could have I guess gotten me canceled or whatever. The fucking video like started freezing up like on the thing that I recorded, and I told him that, and he's like, "Oh, they're coming after me because he's big on the Jew thing, He's like, "Oh, the Jews are coming after me," and I'm half Jewish, and I don't I'm not a supporter of Israel in the slightest. I'm not a Zionist. I don't like any of that shit. I actually think that most of the people that live in Israel that are Jewish are actually European. That's what I've always had that. Yeah, I've always had that thought. And because I'm half Jewish, I know that I'm half European because when I did my DNA, like half of my DNA was in
Polish,
Poland. Poland.
Russian.
Yeah, yeah, it was in Poland. And so I'm like, I'm not Israeli, but apparently I have half Jewish blood. Like, so if I go to Israel, am I going to be considered a half Israelite? Like, or whatever? Like, no. Um, but anyway, they killed too many. Like, Netanyahu's a fucking nutcase and he just kills too many people. And so that's my big thing with it. So you said earlier, speaking of, cultures and shit like that, that there was segregation between Aboriginals and whites. When did that end? Because I don't know the history behind that.
Late 60s, sort of about 67, there was a referendum.
Okay.
Um, so there was a thing called the White Australia Policy
Okay.
from Federation in 1901, and then they had a referendum, should Aboriginals be Australian citizens?
Yeah, yeah.
And it won the referendum, everyone said yes, and yeah, that was in 1967. So up till then, they were technically wards of the state, and they lived on like missions, reservations,
Yeah,
sort
yeah.
of thing. So yeah,
So it's similar. So it's kind of halfway, I guess, maybe a little similar to the Native Americans here. It seems
similar.
like, yeah, yeah. It seems so. Even though we still have our Native Americans are still on reservations to this day here
Mm,
in America, which again is another thing I don't really agree with.
no.
I'm not. I wouldn't consider, like I said, I wouldn't really consider myself like extreme leftist or whatever. But things like that, I get kind of pissed off about because it's like we did come in and completely like wipe out most of those people, and it's like I feel bad that like they still kind of like are stuck in these like little pockets of whatever, but they have cool casinos. You can go to the casinos there and do the, eat the prime rib for like 9.99 or whatever, and it's really cool. But do they have casinos in Australia?
Yeah, we're pretty relaxed about gambling.
Oh, are you
A
really?
lot of the
Okay.
pubs have what we call pokies, which are like slot
Slot
machines.
machines. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
So
cool.
we're
Yeah.
very, very relaxed about gambling.
But are there any Aboriginal casinos?
No, no,
Oh,
no.
okay. Well, so there you go. Like, you see what I mean? It'd be like if the Aboriginals started a bunch of casinos. I'm sure it would be just as popular as the Indian
Probably
casinos
work
are
out all
here.
right.
Yeah. But you said the 60s, and I was thinking in my head as you were saying that, I'm like, that's also not so different from African Americans here in the United States.
Similar, yeah.
Yeah. Similar, except for we didn't have them in camps and shit, you know what I mean? Obviously, or put them in, things like that. There were a bunch of people who had ideas to do those things, but thank God that never happened. Um, but yeah, for me, and I don't know if you agree with this or not, and it's fine if you don't, but like for me, I don't really see a difference between human beings in a lot of ways. I mean, yeah, intellectually sometimes or whatever, but even still, there are, like you said, people from Alabama, right? That if I was going to have, I could not have a conversation with, like white guys in Alabama. I could not sit and have this talk that me and you are having right now. I would be like, hey, what's the last book you read? And they'd be like, what's a book? And that kind of thing. So, I feel like every race or culture or whatever has kind of this pocket of people who make the rest of them look bad in some way, shape, or form. So I
And
don't,
a lot of the
yeah,
prejudice is against the shit element
yeah, exactly is what it
rather
is.
than.
Yeah, the whole, yeah, yeah,
I send my daughter to a private school here,
yeah. Hmm.
a Christian school.
Yeah, yeah.
Not that we're Christian.
No, no,
Like
no.
Australia has really low levels of church attendance,
Yeah,
but we have really high levels of people sending their kids to Christian schools,
yeah, yeah,
and it's basically racial. It's
yeah,
like we
yeah,
got to get our kids away from that element.
yeah,
But like the newer immigrants, like Indians and
yeah, yeah,
Africans and things,
yeah.
also, as soon as they get a bit of money, send their kids to
Kids
these
to
Christian
Christian
schools.
schools. Yeah, exactly.
So,
Yeah, yeah,
so
yeah,
you've got like all the white kids and these African and Indian kids at this Christian school. None of them actually attend church, and they're
yeah, yeah.
just trying to get away from that element
The elements.
in the
Yeah,
public
yeah,
schools.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
it's
yeah.
everyone's a bullshit artist and everyone's a hypocrite.
Yeah,
It's
no,
what do you
exactly. Yeah, yeah, no, exactly. No, I've always thought that um, my mother kind of raised me that way because even though she was a heroin addict and we were on welfare and the state, once she died, we became wards of the state and all that shit. Even though we were in that situation, she still would always tell me and my brothers, like, you shouldn't ever think differently about anybody else. Like, we're all kind of the same. But she would also say things like, you should never call a moron because that word, she said, sounds like that they're more onto something. She goes, instead, you should call them a lesson because it's a lesson to be around them and see how stupid they are. That's what she would always say that. And she, I mean, I feel like she was right at certain points when it comes to that kind of stuff. But no, yeah, I don't understand the divisiveness of people, especially in this country. I don't know how. I mean, just listening to you now talking about how it is there, I guess it's kind of similar in some ways to America. Um, yeah, so
Yeah, we
I
haven't
don't
escaped all that culture war bullshit.
no,
It's
and I no, and I've always said that everybody has this like idea that everything's going to be like Star Trek, right? We're all going to be holding hands and singing "Kumbaya" at
we
some
were
point.
very optimistic once
Yeah,
about
yeah,
that.
yeah. We were. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then reality hit, right? And then there was 9/11, or whatever.
Yeah,
But have you ever had you've had Vegemite, huh?
I had it this morning for
Oh, did
breakfast
you
at
really?
Banjo.
Yeah, yeah. Do you like it?
Yeah, yeah, bloody
Yeah,
oath,
is it
yeah.
good? Yeah, I've never had it. I never yeah. There's I guess there's a lot of I've been to Outback Steakhouse, right? Like that's the closest I've come to Australian culture. But they don't have Vegemite there, and I always thought that that's like a missed opportunity that I should be able to walk into an Outback and be like, yeah, I'll take a Vegemite sandwich or something, and then they give it to me or something. Um, yeah, that's the other one. Men at Work. That was another another culture, and then ACDC. Obviously, that's another. They're like, you know,
Can I tell you a story about
yeah,
ACDC?
please, yeah,
From
please, yeah,
yeah. So near me, the state capital, Adelaide,
yeah,
uh, up in the really rough northern suburbs of Adelaide, it's like real working class. There used to be a car factory and a steel mill.
yeah,
It's pretty rough. And when AC/DC were just sort of coming up, they were just like a big pub band.
yeah,
Because in Australia, to make it as a band, you had to do all the pubs, and
yeah,
that's why usually Australian bands are really good live.
yeah, because they practiced. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, they had to be.
yeah,
Anyway, there's this a footy club up there, Salisbury Footy Club, and sometime in the early mid 70s, before ACDC got super big, they played there, and everyone came like it was just
yeah,
people out on the road.
yeah.
And ACDC really gave it some, and there ended up being a riot.
Oh
And like
wow,
I'm talking, like cops in horseback had to come and just bash
club.
people, and it
Yeah,
was
yeah,
the footy club was pretty much destroyed. And the manager was so pissed off, he gave them what we call a barring notice, which
yeah,
is you cannot set foot in that premises again, or
yeah,
you will be taken to jail.
yeah,
Anyway, fast forward about 20 years, in the 90s, 60 Minutes is doing a story about ACDC, how they're this big, huge success.
yeah.
And Angus and Malcolm are taking them around to places they used to play, and they take them to the Salisbury Footy Club. Oh
Mhm.
yeah, we played here in about 1970 something, and there was a riot.
Yeah.
And old mate, the manager from the fucking Salisbury Footy Club, comes out and goes, "Oi, you fucking dickheads are banned. Get the fuck out." Like this is ACDC. You're
Yeah.
fucking banned.
Yeah,
Get the fuck
yeah.
out.
Hey, man. Yeah, it doesn't
Still
matter.
remembered all those
That's
years
right.
later.
Yeah, that's how it is, man. That's how it is. That's pretty funny. Yeah. No, ACDC are cool though, man. Did you ever see them live?
No, no, they're
Yeah.
one of the ones I wish them and Motorhead. I really wish I'd seen
Oh yeah,
live.
so I saw Motorhead live when I was a kid. I was like 7 years old.
Really?
Yeah, my dad took me to see. It was Motorhead opened, and then Metallica, and then Guns N' Roses. Who I have Guns N' Roses tattooed on me right here because I love Guns N' Roses very much. Um, but yeah, I saw them. So it was like back and like back to back. Like
Oh,
Motorhead played, everybody's tired. They all want to go to sleep. And then Metallica comes on, plays 2.5 hours, fucking, and then Axel decides like, oh, I'm gonna fucking wait it out. You know how Axl is. He was like, I'm just gonna wait. And so I think it was like 2 hours or something after Metallica got off stage that Axl finally decided, yeah, I'm gonna go and play. So the show went on, I think, until like 1 in the morning or something. But my dad took me. It was like I was like seven or 8 years old at the time. It was like 92. And yeah, no, man, Motorhead ruled, and I used to go to the Rainbow Room all the time, which is
Yeah.
on the Sunset Strip where Lemmy would hang out. I never saw him there. I wish I he had they had a little slot machine he used to sit at and fucking do right there in the rain, and they only had it there for him. So he would like literally just put money into it and do the thing, and then nobody else would use it because they're like, oh, that's Lemmy's fucking slot machine, and he'd come and get shit housed or whatever and drink whatever and do his thing. No, he was cool. But yeah, what I'm trying to think of other Australian thing. Oh, there's Hugh Jackman. Obviously, he's a big thing from your guys' country. Um, and then Nicole Kidman, right? Nicole Kidman was Australian.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, and the most famous Australian of all time, Mel Gibson. I mean, who
yeah.
who can forget Mel Gibson? You know,
Our problem is our talent fucks off to America.
They
So
said they
first
immediately
chance we
leave.
get.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, what's funny is that my mom, I have a story about Mel Gibson actually. So my mom, she was in AA, in Alcoholics Anonymous, and Mel Gibson was going to the AA meetings with my mother. It was on Hollywood Boulevard. And so I remember there was an underground, it was like right off of there's this famous street on Hollywood Boulevard called Vine. There's Hollywood and Vine right there. And like there's all these like old, now I don't think they're there, but there used to be like these porn theaters right on that corner there. And near, like right next to one of the porn theaters was like this kind of office kind of area, and that's where they'd have these AA meetings. And it had an underground kind of basement underneath it, and there were like arcade machines and shit for like the kids, right? So like me, my brothers, and then like a couple other kids from whose parents were up there or whatever doing their AA meeting, we'd all be down there playing Galaga or whatever, in the arcade. And I remember one time I heard people shouting, and so me and my brothers kind of like snuck up and opened the door up a little bit and looked through the door, and there's Mel Gibson, and he's got like the hair like fucking Riggs in Lethal Weapon, and he still has the Australian accent at the time. He goes, fuck this, I'm out of here, I'm getting the fuck out of here, and he gets into his Porsche, which is parked out front, and he just drives off. And I remember my mother going, fuck him, let him go. She was always like, he was, but yeah, he was like a world famous, alcoholic. I mean, he still probably does drink. I don't know if he doesn't or not, or if he talks about it how he doesn't, but because anytime they have an interview with him, he's like red in the face. And I'm not,
Yeah,
but I feel like it's because he's still angry at all the Jewish people. That's probably what it is. He's like, he's
he's
killed
an
it.
angry man.
Yeah, all that
That's
hatred still in him. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. And I don't know, like, I don't know how he lost that Australian accent. It's so weird to me that, like, he lost it, and now he just sounds like the Mel Gibson that everybody,
yeah. I think that might have been
yeah.
strategic career move.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, definitely. Definitely. Yeah. But
yeah.
it's just, yeah, it's weird because, like I said, I remember, like, literally, he's like standing probably like 20 feet away from me, and he's like, fuck this shit, I'm out of here, doing the whole thing, I'm out of here, and he gets into his Porsche and just drives off. But yeah, it was funny, man. No, Mel Gibson, man. No, anyway, what time is it? Maybe we should, yeah, it's been an hour. I think we're good, right? You had fun?
Okay,
Did you
yeah,
have
sure.
fun? Yeah, you have a good time.
Yeah,
I had a good time. We didn't really talk
yeah.
much about the theory, right? But whatever, it doesn't matter. What
That's
was
all right.
even
I had a
what
good
was in the
time.
reaction rate? That's right, chemistry. It's all right. It's not a big deal. I feel like we had good chemistry here, right? Me and you, an American and Australian. Um, Tell everybody what you got on Amazon or what you got going on book
All
wise.
right.
Yeah.
I have three books out, all published by Truth Serum Press. The Last Free Man and Other Stories, Remembering the Dead and Other Stories, and the newest one, The Everlasting and Other Stories. Amazon's probably the easiest way to find them. Yeah, please read them. If you want to follow me, I'm very active on Goodreads and Substack. It's probably the best place.
Yeah.
My Substack rants are quite good, I think.
Yes. Yeah, I looked at a
I've
couple
got
of them. It's
60
pretty
people.
funny. Yeah, 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 it's pretty good. Um, yeah, you were talking about Cormac McCarthy. I was reading the
Oh,
yeah. That was one of I mean like yeah. I mean yeah. No, it's funny. He's have you read before we go off the air? Have you read Mark Danielewski, the guy who did House of Leaves? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I know of it, but no, I have not read him.
So
No.
he just wrote a book and released it called Tom's Crossing, which is very similar to The Crossing by McCarthy. And it's literally it's almost I'm not going to say it's almost the same book, but it's like got that kind of weaving of the great American novel in it. I think you'd dig it if you read it. I think you'd actually like it. If
Okay.
you like any of McCarthy's stuff. Um yeah, there's me doing my commercial for Mark Z. Danielewski. There you go. And not myself. Anyway, I'm Robert Cross. This is episode number 16, and I had a great time. And it's the first international episode. And again, we're allowed to say cunt. He's more allowed to say cunt than I am, but I
Fucking
think
I
we're
can.
yeah. All right, man. I'll see you later.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, man.